Hello and welcome back to 2025. We have new mugs. It's the LTA mugs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, they got this new logo on them. You have a blue one.
Yeah, you might.
I have a white one. Anyway, I'm Jatt. I have Inspired, Srtty, and Zven. Kind of new faces, with Zven going back onto C9, and Srtty also making your, I guess, Tier 1 league debut.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's going to be really exciting to see you in the LCS. We're just coming off the draw for the Split 1 tournament, which, as we're just realizing now, could be really fast.
Yeah.
If you lose your first 2 games, you're going to be off for a month until Split 2 starts. But okay, we have Team Liquid versus Dig. Well, the very first game is going to be FlyQuest versus Shopify. We have C9 versus Lyon. Then on the other side of the bracket, TL Dig, 100 Thieves, and Disguised. Inspired, what are some of your thoughts now that you've had a little bit of time to digest the bracket?
That's a weird format, but I can see why it's happening because there are 3 splits. So like the first one, it has to be like kind of quick to not make the whole year too long. And I think it's a pretty exciting way to do the quick split.
It's like a kickoff tournament almost.
I don't mind it.
Also fearless as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and we'll see how it goes.
Zven?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like our draw. I think it feels a bit weird being in this, so when there's like pools, right? And we're in a pool with, no offense, Dig, DSG, and Shopify. And I felt like this was out of place, you know? But because C9 lost to 100 Thieves, and then Lyon beat 100 Thieves, that makes them the 4th seed.
Yeah.
Or the 3rd seed, and 100 Thieves the 4th seed, right?
Yeah.
So then we were in this bracket. So I was kind of hoping we wouldn't draw TL or FlyQuest, and we didn't. So that's pretty good.
And Srtty, I mean, I want to actually back up just a little bit for you because, like, welcome to the LTA.
Thank you.
A lot of people are saying it's a bit late.
Maybe a
Maybe you
little
should have had
bit,
an opportunity before. But how do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm happy to be in. I think that it's better that I'm promoting now rather than at the start of this year because I think at the start of this year I would have been a bit raw, and I'm definitely in a more secure position now. But I am a little surprised my first match is going to be versus TL. Definitely am.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it though. I was the only person who put my hand up when people said, who wants to draw TL?
Okay.
Because, I mean,
You got it.
I don't want to leak anything, but scrims have been going pretty well for Dig, and I think that I'm playing pretty well, and my team is playing pretty well as a whole, and definitely at the start, I think everybody's a bit bad. Like every team is like not playing up to form. So I think there's probably no better person for me to debut versus other than Impact, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any, I mean, like any reason that you want to play against Impact?
MVP from last season.
I used to work under him. I was his sub at Worlds in 2022, and I went with Inspired was on that team to Mexico and followed them around, and I got to see him play. I knew that he was really good, and I always had a lot of respect for him. But I think that I'm finally at a point right now where I can actually win, and I think that if I can do well in my first match versus a team like TL and a player like Impact who's destroyed, it's going to bode really well for me.
Yeah. I'll get to Inspired and Zven before, but I'm actually really curious because I've never had the chance to talk to you, and I've seen the threads of like 2000 LP solo queue, and almost like a debate about if that was just like a publicity thing to like prove that you could make it, or if that was actually making you a better player and preparing you more to make it into the LTA, especially with what you said at the start, where like, oh, last year I wouldn't have been ready to promote, but this year I am ready to promote. Like, what have you improved in the last year?
Solo queue didn't help me. Getting 2000 LP made me worse.
Okay.
It only built bad habits, and for any high tier, like aspiring tier 2, tier 3 player, I'd recommend doing it just because it gets eyes on you and it gets your name in the conversation.
Yeah.
But at the end, like once you do it, because if you're good enough, you will be able to, as long as you change the way that you play, you need to begin to lock back in and try and play to win in competitive.
Yeah.
Like if you look at my accounts right now, I'm not as high LP as I was, and there's a reason behind that. I could lock Camille and Vayne every game, and if I wanted to, I would get rank 1 in 2 weeks from Diamond. It would not be hard, but that doesn't do anything for me, you know? I need to actually practice, and I need to play well, and I need to adjust how I'm playing so that I'm a good teammate, and I help elevate my team.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Solo queue made me worse, but it's also one of the reasons you made it to the LCS because your reputation got better.
Yeah.
That's how it works. What are some of your thoughts on Srtty, Inspired?
I mean, I agree with everything he said right now. I think solo queue in NA, you can only use it as like you can flex on people that you just got a lot of LP, but in reality, it's like you have to have a certain playstyle from solo queue, which is like abusing the bad plays from enemy team and just like snowballing off of that, which is not really the best play to do in a competitive setting.
Yeah.
And off of Srtty, he was on our academy already last year, and he was subbing like few scrims when like Bwipo was either sick or like he had some content to do or something was going on. So like he was always helping us or like playing the matchups 1v1. Also he played with Quad in the Spring Split, so Quad also knows how Srtty plays. And yeah, I think it's finally his time to show what he got in LCS or like LTA now.
Do you think it's the right timing? Do you think he would have been like LCS tier last year? Or
I think he easily could have been if he had a team to practice with. I think it's a bit harder if you're an academy player and you instantly have to play in LCS. I think if you have time to like practice with the LCS team for a bit, like in the off-season or something, then I think he could have been ready. But just like jumping right from academy to the tier 1 team, I think it can kind of demotivate you and like hit your confidence a lot because you suddenly play against the better teams and better players, and I don't think it usually will end up good for you.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, the EG team that I was going to promote into was basically 5 rookies, and we were probably going to have like a player off-rolled in the support position. I'm not going to say who it was, but I think that as a really raw rookie, promoting into that kind of environment can do more harm than good, you know?
To your reputation. Anyway, really interesting stuff. Happy to have you here. I want to talk a bit more about the matchups. The first matchup, FlyQuest versus Shopify. You're probably fairly confident, but Shopify is a new team in a lot of ways. Fudge, Contracts, Palafox, B-Boy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The team doesn't really seem too scary to me, especially that they don't really have their support yet. So they're still playing with their sub, or like I guess I would say.
Yeah, Zeyzal will be playing.
I would say Zeyzal is worse than the Seos. Seos. And other than that, the other 4 players, I think B-Boy is pretty good. I think Fudge is okay, but Bwipo never really had problems with him. He was actually the one that kind of destroyed him in the playoffs after C9 dropped him. And yeah, and about their mid jungle, I don't know. I didn't really ever feel any pressure coming from them when they were on energy, so I'm happy with the draw.
So you guys haven't scrimmed that many teams, so it's hard to get a really good feel on team strength, but just from the outside knowledge you have, Zven, what would you rank this, like a 80-20, 70-30? Where would you put it? FlyQuest versus Shopify.
I'd say like 95-5 maybe. Maybe I think maybe best 90-10. Yeah, it sounds like harsh, but it's like if you played the same game, you know, like
because it's also best of 3.
Yeah, like if you actually played this match 100 times, right? Best of 3s, right? So 300 games total. SI would only win like 5 days of those 100 days, you know.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's actually kind of fair to say. Like, it's kind of like, look, NRG can beat G2, and they can beat CN2 in finals, but they can only do that, you know, a couple times out of 100. And if the coin lands that way that day, they can win.
Sure.
I think SR is like, they're a little problematic because they don't have a lot of firepower.
Okay.
Like, there's no like flashy playmaker. There's no guy you're afraid of. I think B-Boy is solid, like Inspired said, but he's not scary to play against. Not a oppressive laner, not a forceful player that like makes magic happen, so to speak. So they need someone that does that. Contracts kind of made a reputation for being a good player in a bad team. When he started playing, he was like making, you know, risky plays and like funny angles and stuff like that. But it's like not enough, I think, for Shopify. No one is, you know, scary in that team.
Yeah.
So, and FlyQuest is a very good team at not losing to worse teams. If that makes sense. Very consistent, good mid game, good macro. So, it's like probably the worst matchup for Shopify, I think, in this whole thing. A team like C9 could lose to Shopify a bit more, you know, because they're a bit more like, you know, volatile, so to speak.
There?
FlyQuest is not. Last year, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, something compared to a bit more volatile, higher highs, lower lows, maybe. But FlyQuest is like a very consistent team. Same for TLL.
Okay. Yeah. Srtty, what do you think about FlyQuest Shopify?
I think Fly's going to win too. I don't think I'd say 95-5 just because right now, from rumors that I've heard, I don't think anybody's like super insane right now. Obviously, like I consider Fly the best team in the league, and I consider their players to be the best, or some of the best in their respective roles. I was under them. I played with them. I know how good they are.
Yeah.
I know how good this guy is, no glaze. I don't think they're going to lose to Shopify. I really don't. I think that probably Zven is right, and if Shopify is versus a team like 100 Thieves, they have a much higher chance to win. But when they're versus Fly or TL, their players just aren't that individually like insane enough to like create variance inside of the game that would let them take advantage of the other team.
Jumping across the bracket then, because there's no peer pressure because they're not here. 100 Thieves and Disguised.
Yeah, I think 100 Thieves wins.
Sim.
But I don't think that it's the same level of stomp as FlyQuest SR. 100 Thieves is like the opposite of what I mentioned of FlyQuest. They can like lose to the worst team in the league and beat decent teams too. Because their playstyle is like run at the wall until the wall breaks or their head breaks, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes their head breaks.
Any thoughts on Disguised?
Didn't see them play yet, so hard to tell.
Which one of them once?
The Abedage, he didn't play competitively, I think, for a while now.
He was playing in
He would have played in.
right?
Oh, he actually played in
Yeah.
NFL, yeah.
Yeah.
He played in regional league in EU, so I'm not sure how he was doing there. Other than that, they have XU coming from Academy, right, and Castle from Immortals. So
Scary Jerry.
I know we are practicing a
Louis.
little bit against Scary Jerry when he was in Academy team, when there was no one to scream like last playoffs because every team was already on vacation. He seemed alright. So I don't know. It's hard to tell how this team is gonna do. Like I need to play against them first, but yeah, I heard they're not looking too hot, but we'll see.
Yeah. Srtty?
I know a lot about a lot of their players.
Yeah.
The only one that I don't really know too well is Huhi, and we have scrimmed them a few times. I think that 100 Thieves is going to stomp them. It's going to be a 2-0, and it's not going to be close.
Damn. What do you know about? Hopefully this isn't setting up for just massive flame. But what do you think about Scary Jerry? He's a player I'm not that familiar with.
He was the only AD carry in NACL who, when I played versus them, I felt like they had some intention in their actions.
Okay.
A lot of players just play to play, and they're not really trying to do anything meaningful to push the game forward. He at least tried. And I think that says a lot when you're playing in Academy and you don't really have an infrastructure to teach you how to do that. I think that he definitely has potential, but I think that it might be hard for him to perform inside of a team like DSG if certain other pieces on his team can enable him to do what an AD carry is meant to do, you know? I think it's a tough position to be in, and I wish him all the best.
And you don't necessarily think that the roster as it's constructed can do that?
No, I don't.
Fair enough.
I think playing ADC in what's at this very moment perceived to be the worst team in the league is also the worst way to start your split. I think, counter argument, for example, Masu has probably the easiest entry to the league. He's playing with veterans like Inspired and Whippo, good coaching stuff, I think, and people that can lead games, so it's very easy to enter. But DSG don't really have like that much veteranship, I think. They lack that a little bit. So I think it's going to be hard for him to enter the league. So it's like he's coming in with a, how you say, the deck stat against him, kind of.
Yeah.
But he seemed okay. I mean, we scrimmed him and he was not the biggest problem, that's for sure.
Okay.
From our very limited scrims.
Across the board, Inspired, you'll still predict 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I think 100 is gonna win, but they are a crazy team. Like I can see them running down, but I feel like the meta should suit them better than it was last season, because I think it's a little bit less macro, more of fighting, and that's kind of what they were doing all the time.
Yeah.
So I can see them just group on every objective and fight US5, and maybe, I mean, they should be better team than DSG, and maybe they will be even better team than they were last year. So we'll see.
I agree.
Are you guys preparing for Fearless at all? Like, how would you prepare for Fearless with this? Does it factor into who would be a stronger or weaker player here? Like Sniper.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. How
Sniper
so?
is objectively a weaker player in best of fives because if you look at his champion pool from last split, the vast majority of his games was spread across three champions, which were Cassante, Renekton, and Jax. And in Deep Fearless, when your teammates might not trust you on champions other than your mains, it becomes way easier to beat a team like that loses faith in one of their players. Even if like they're fine mechanically on the other champions, if they're not practiced on them in comp, it can be like hard for them to win.
I mean, you've played a lot more Fearless than most of the players in the LTA. Legitimate advantage?
It's a legitimate advantage, yeah, and people can exploit it versus 100 Thieves if they don't learn to play with other champs.
Nice. That's
I
exciting.
think saving grace is it's best of threes
Yes.
for now.
So it's not big time best
right
of
now
five
we
Fearless.
scrim 2 blocks of 3. So you play 3 games of Fearless, and you reset the block, and the next block of scrims, you reset the Fearless, right? And it feels like a lot of time you're just playing the same 3 champs in the same order, right? So like 80 carries might play like Ash Kalista. Okay, next game I'm playing Varus Corki. Next game I'm playing 6 Ezreal or something like that, you know, or like you see LPL goes the same way. Ezreal, you watch like RNG versus who was it that they play against FPX, and it's like the first 2 games are normal champs, and suddenly we have Kai'Sa versus MF or Sivir versus Sana. You're like, it goes like a tier list kind of. You know?
Yeah.
But in best of 3s, there's enough OP champs, so to speak, that you just go down the list slowly.
I agree completely. I don't think that Fearless will matter in best of 3s very much, if at all.
Okay.
It's like a little bit.
It's just a little bit.
Sometimes you ban the OP champs in the first game, and then in the second game, you played all the good champs already. So now you have to ban a champion every game because it's too OP to be played in like a game 2 or game 3.
Yeah.
Happens a lot in like scrims where like game 3, okay, we have to ban this champion off because it's too OP to be open in game 3 against like all these other shit champions. So it has a little bit of like draft nuance to it, but yeah, overall I think it's a good change for the long run.
Yeah.
See like a little bit less of, you know, Corki Asir or like, you know, Sai Kai'Sa every game kind of situations.
Yeah. It's a little bit of forced
I think
diversity.
with that, the draft finally got more skilled, in my opinion. Like
Yeah,
to me, before drafting was like really simple, and I didn't really feel like the coaches had to do that much. Like you basically prepared like few prior picks, and you knew what you were gonna play, and you kind of could predict like what enemies are gonna ban, because like if they are red side, they're always like OP picks that you don't really wanna give up. So usually you just ban that, and you could like pretty much predict the first phase of the draft. And usually the draft was just like getting a bit shaky in the second phase of the draft. Like there you not always predicted what's gonna happen. But I think with this, like the better coach can actually make a big gap like in the game 2 or 3 with the draft. So I think that part for sure has way more skill. And, like you can actually get bigger advantages through the draft, I feel like.
Our draft meeting is going to be 5 times longer.
Because
trying to predict like 4 or 5 bands.
They're 5 hours. And,
I think one thing is like when you go deep in playoffs, at the end of the split, right, in finals, everyone knows what everyone plays.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, they play this comp every game if they can. Ban that, they play this comp. But now in Fearless, when you go to game 4 and 5, the people that have deeper champion pools, like funny guys like Bwipo, for example, right? Like playing like these champs like Urgot and Darius is actually a real advantage to have, because the champs that count them, like I don't know, Rumble or whatever, isn't open anymore. So it's like people that have like funny champs in their arsenal have a real advantage once you get to like the later games, and they're less predictable than before, when like in finals of like LCS in game 3 or 4, you already know what's going to happen in the whole draft. It's like a complete handshake. You know, you didn't have to draft, you could just play the game because you already know what's going to happen anyway. So I think there's going to be some more flavor in game 4 and 5s. Game 2 and 3s, I don't know. It's kind of like a tier list, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It gets crazier and crazier as you move on. I want to talk, Zven. Can you talk about the offseason at all? You're back on C9. If you don't want to talk about the offseason, just talk about what it's being back. How did that happen?
I mean, I actually kind of like Dig. It's had some of the best atmosphere that I've ever had. You know, the 5 players together, I enjoyed the time a lot. We played board games, we hung out together, and it felt like a good time there. But we feel like we've had to make some changes. At first, we were trying to get Srtty, actually. I talked to him a little bit in the offseason when I was on Dignitas. Before C9 entered the conversation.
Yeah.
We were thinking about it. Then I joined C9, so that was out the window. C9 was talking about keeping Blabber and Vulcan, changing millionaires.
Yeah.
And I like the roster. I won 4 titles with Blabber and 2 with Vulcan, so I know what I'm dealing with here. And then for mid lane, we're talking about different options, and we agreed ultimately that Loki was our best option. He had some bots from Half Academy. He showed us his POVs and stuff, and we talked to him a little bit, and I was convinced, so I was happy to go for it.
So was that like C9? It's always interesting because at one point there was that meme about Fudge just being Jack's son, because it almost felt like Fudge was just like GMing the team. And then we had Blabber. I remember when they brought in M&S, it was like Blabber interviewed M&S. And is it still kind of like that? Where, but is it still kind of like that where, okay, you joined C9 and then the 3 of you just like decided on Loki, or was it Jack?
No, I think everybody's got a vote. You know, Jack has like a channel on our team chat where he's like the 2025 season mid lane, and then you give your take like, oh, I want this guy. Why?
Yeah.
I want this guy. Why?
Right.
And then there's like, you know, an info channel with like POV VODs, their competitive games, their, you know, most played champions, blah, 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 right? And then you kind of just debate back and forth. Oh, having a Korean player isn't so bad. You got to have one anyway. You know, like just like these kind of arguments are being made. And ultimately, I was like, yeah, I think Loki's the best fit. Young, hardworking player, and I think he'll fit in our team. So we were like, yeah, we'll go for it. Then we had a boot camp in Korea from November 25th or something to the 21st December, almost a whole month.
Yeah, wow.
And I didn't actually want to go at first because December is kind of like an important month, family and all that. So I was against it at first, but I'm happy we went. So yeah, it went well. We scrimmed the first half on the old patch, old Rift and everything, and then the next half on the Atakan and the new Noxus map and all that. So at some point we had to choose between scrimming LTK LPL teams on the old patch, because they're playing Casper Cup and the Master Cup, or play against Challenger Series teams on new patch. And I think the new patch price was good for us overall. We also scrimmed Fearless, which was nice for the most part. So I don't know, it was a good bootcamp, I think.
Yeah.
Also, it's nice to see how people are in a more intense environment where you you scrim and you play solo queue the whole day, whereas when you're in LA, you just scrim and then people can go to their apartments and do whatever they want. They can scrim from there, solo queue from there or whatever. You're kind of more relaxed in a way. But in boot camps, you're always more on all the time, which is nice. That's no Loki better that way.
Yeah, it's a little bit of forced bonding before the season starts, rather than it just being all business and all office. It's nice. I haven't gotten the predictions for C9 Lyon if we're giving it percentages. I imagine everyone is picking C9.
Yeah, I don't really know the team yet on the Lyon, but honestly, they have Korean mid laner and ADC.
Licorice, Audi, Keen.
I think it's Kaney.
Keeney, and then Hannah and Lyon, right? Lions. Lions.
Did he name himself after the team or?
No, it was meant to be.
See, yeah, it's just
meant to be.
happy coincidence.
Well,
It's like fly.
maybe they will just be good mechanically for sure, because the Korean mid laner, Korean ADC, Hannah played in SCK, and I just don't know who's gonna be leading the game there. I feel like maybe there will be some language barriers going on. I don't really know how OD is as a player, if he's a leader for the team. Hannah,
He's basically the LLA GOAT. He's just won the most titles, had the most accolades.
In there, Lakers being not American, but from NA, and then Audi and Lyon, because he's also from there, right?
Yeah.
They're almost certainly going to play in English.
Yeah. And then Hannah and
Hannah, I think it's first time being imported out of Korea.
I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Hannah,
We're definitely not the leading
they're a bit of a
experts
team.
online.
Funny, you put the flags,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most international teams here.
I think it can be an interesting team, but it's hard to say if it's gonna be a strong team or just interesting. I'm not sure yet.
I think we'll win too. I think we're in better shape than they are, based on our boot camp as well as how we've been practicing. So I'm confident that we're playing against Fly in the what's this called, A6. Is that next second round?
Oh, you're just reading the numbers off of this. So the winner of you guys in Lyon will play the winner of FlyQuest Shopify.
Yeah. And then we're playing. Whoever wins goes
and
to.
the winner of that goes
to Brazil, right?
Yeah, already goes to quarterfinals in Brazil.
Yeah.
And then the middle match is just proceeding. It looks like.
Yeah.
Winner first seed for cross region.
But there'll still be a first place in LTA, and then the first place from LTA will play the fourth place from the
it's
from
kind of
the
actually important
south.
to get the seeding.
Yeah, because it's a single elimination tournament.
So we're playing against Teal in the middle if we get there.
Yeah, but the fun thing.
Let's be real here, guys.
I don't know if you guys know this. The fun thing when if all of you make it to Brazil, the first round of that tournament is all South versus North.
Yes.
So there'll be no team kills or region kills in the first round.
It would be funny if one of the leagues just beat the other league in all four
It could
matches.
happen immediately in the first round.
That would be funny.
It's pretty spicy, actually.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good.
Okay, last matchup, Team Liquid versus Dignitas. I know I already talked to you a little bit about it,
Let's be
Srtty.
honest, okay? It's fine.
bro.
I know I'm here, but
I know.
be honest.
We're not kind of people who hold back, I think.
Good.
Me and Inspired.
I was thinking that Dignitas will not be good, but you are saying that they're better than us in practice.
I didn't say that. I said they beat us more games.
Oh.
It doesn't mean they're better. It's like fine line between winning and being good.
Yeah.
Dick had a little bit of lane swap abuse in our scrims. But the two games they played 2v2, 1v1 didn't go so well.
I think I did fine personally.
The
but-
lane swap.
I didn't say names, I said they didn't go so well. My top laner has been in a detox. He doesn't like to play tanks anymore, He's been on tanks the whole
He's
Korean
saving
boot
them
camp.
for stage.
So now he's playing his fine champs,
Yeah.
It's like
there's always an
the
excuse.
boss is having some mercy on him, Yeah, it's true.
But it's always like that.
But
In scrims, you don't want to waste time playing tanks.
Yeah, it's true. He can't learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody else can play because there's no front line.
Real talk. We scrimmed 5-6 days. We scrimmed Fly mostly. We scrimmed Dig one day, DSG one day, SI one day. And Dig was the team that won the most games against us. So
Woo.
to be fair, we didn't skip teal.
That's something.
We didn't skip teal or 100 Thieves. So it's like, take it with some salt. But yeah, I think Dig has a chance. They have hope.
I can
Yeah,
see.
chance.
I'd say,
Looking in Vayne top.
yeah, legit.
Or you can't be leaking.
Impact,
Range top laner.
Impact only with tanks. You play Vayne. It's like fire versus water,
No.
Could be
Wait,
good.
no, you're water. He's fire. Yeah, you can win.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can win. I think that based
win.
on scrims, I'm not going to leak anything that really happened, but if the games are under 30 minutes, they're losing.
Okay.
So you're saying late game Dignitas is same old?
I don't know about same old. I didn't watch Dig last season, to be completely honest. But
25 minutes now.
Actually, that's what Buff Dignitas. Baron pause later. It's good for
oh
Dig.
my god.
25-minute Baron.
I think we're better than them in the early game. Ironically, I think that we were doing better than they were in swaps, which is weird. Because I thought that I'd be bad at swaps, but I guess core killed me enough times in in-houses that I got good at them somehow. So I'm like actually kind of human at this point. But I think that because a lot of teams are raw and games aren't as controlled as they should be, it gives us a better chance. And I think that if we beat TL, we're going to make it to the winter finals, for sure.
I can see that on that side of the bracket where you see it lines up. Because if you lose, there's also going to be some cross bracket later on, which could make it harder to make it to top 4. I want to back off just a little bit because it's the very start of the year. What do you see as like the best version of this year for Dignitas? Like, are your goals to just be decent, not be at the bottom, or are you thinking, top 2, top 3?
I think that if my goal was to just try and be decent and not be at the bottom, I'd probably be a failure as a pro player. I think that if I don't actually want to win, I should quit. And I shouldn't bother playing because it's a complete waste of time if you're not like actively trying to be the best and putting everything that you have into the game. Like I wake up at 8 a.m., I go and I walk and I get coffee and I come back and then I play League from like 9:30 until like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Like every single day. Even when I was in school full time, it was to the point I had an account top 10 in Challenger. While I was laning, I would do stats homework and calculus because I needed to get my schoolwork done so I wouldn't fail, but I also needed to keep practicing in like September through December. It was actually kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But like, I really want to win. I think that I definitely have what it takes to be one of the best, and I know that's me saying it, so obviously I'm going to be biased, but I think that I thought the top laners in LCS would be a lot better than they are before I started scrimming versus them a lot. Not to say that they're bad, they're definitely like pretty good players.
I'm loving the confidence.
I think that if we can't place within the top 3, we've somehow failed as a team in like a sense of functionality or something like that. Because I don't know what other people think about my teammates, but I think that our mid laner Kane is really good mechanically. And I think that Tomo and I are actually really smart about the game. And I think that I'm in a really lucky position to be able to play with good people who actually want to win and are trying their hardest. Because I know, at least in the past, a lot of teams have had players who don't put all of their effort in. And I think that I'm just lucky to be where I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Inspired. I know I talked a little earlier about being on the same team with the same players for another year and how rare that is, but surely it's a bit exciting.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's more exciting when you switch a team because then you like don't know what to expect, right?
Because there's something new. It's like you get a honeymoon phase.
When you play with the same teammates, you kind of know how everything is going and how like what people like to play, what they don't like to play, how they want to play. So I think it's less exciting, but I think it's easier to like start playing well because you already know each other, as I said. So I don't know. I mean, to me, goal is obviously to win. So if it's easier because we kept the same 5, I'm just happy about it, and I will try to get into the best form as fast as possible. So.
Do you think you're the favorites?
Honestly,
not even necessarily in this tournament, but just like for the year.
I mean, we should be because we won the last split. So I think in the fans' perspective and like viewers' perspective, we should be the favorites. Are we? I don't really know. I think we are just looking game by game, and we're always gonna play our best. I think we showed that we can win against any team. We won some games even against the Asian teams. So I think people are more scared of us now. So
man, that series was so close. What do you want to change to actually make it to semifinals? I know it's back at Worlds.
I mean, I think we had the wrong approach for Game 5, and we should have for sure thought about the smolder. I think we shouldn't have played Lyon because we should have just kept banning it, even though we were blue side in the last game, and then just try to have different approach for the draft in game 5. I think that's what we should have done.
Man, that was close. I really wanted to see the win.
I woke up in the morning, I saw FlyQuest brought Genji to 5 games, my life flashed before my eyes.
That was funny, yeah.
I just feel like it would have meant so much if you're. It did mean a lot, but then when you were unable to close, it's that like. I'm just wondering, like, is it because sometimes a loss like that can really stick with the team?
Yeah.
It's almost worse to have won the games.
I mean, but we're not as close to win. I think if we were like on the enemy next to us and something would happen, then I think that could like cause your team to.
Like if it was a really close game.
Yes,
that you lost,
but I think the games that we were losing, we were just losing because we were a worse team. I think we managed to win the games because we had a really good idea on how we want to play those games out, and like our drafts are really smart. I think they weren't really ready for that. But when enemy got a better draft, like the game didn't look too close. I felt like they were just snowballing pretty fast, and their macro was really good. So it didn't really feel like we were a better team. Even though people maybe thought that we should have won or something like that, in my opinion, Genji was still a better team. We just came really well prepared, and that's why we were able to surprise them. And I think we just lacked one more draft to pull off.
Just that game 5, maybe game 5.
A bit more, yeah.
Game 5 Fearless with Whipple might have been a little bit more effective.
Game 5 Fearless would for sure help us a lot there. Like if we just ban the smolder 1, 2, 3 and the game is Fearless, like I think maybe we would have won.
I want to ask you, Zven, a bit off topic that we were just talking about continuity, because like I think at least being in so many different teams throughout the years, it's really rare for continuity to exist year over year, but there are pros and cons to having the same teammates for long periods of time. Can you talk about some of maybe the cons? Because it seems like maybe it's this great thing that you're bringing back 5 players, so of course they're going to be good, but what can go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, like, in 21, Vulcan and I had, like, we had a lot of, like, internal issues as a whole team that season. You know, I was benched after MSI and stuff like that, and then came back, and it was a kind of a mess. Not to go into details about it, but we had some issues, him and I, issues between other players too, and you could think that maybe baggage would carry over. But, like, we talked about it, no hard feelings, and you keep going. But that can be, like, past, baggage that's still there. Isn't there for me, isn't there for him, so we're good. But it can't be there, And like with people you've played with for a long time, their like habits can annoy you more because you know about them for a long time. Whereas with someone new, you're like, their mistakes are okay. You know? That kind of thing. It's kind of like being in a marriage, where like she's doing something that annoys you. It gets worse and worse over time, kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't really have a problem with running it back with Blabber and Vulcan. Like I know their strengths, their weaknesses, and they know mine, and we know each other on a personal level really well. So I'm happy with that. I know what I'm getting. So like I'm more okay with having Thanatos and Loki, who I both don't know, when I have a known quantity as well. And then the org behind me, right? I know in C9 that I'm getting excellence, right? Because every person in C9, whether it's a manager or it's a coach or a staff member, whatever they are, they're excellent at what they do, right? And they want to be there, right? Because people want to be in C9. So they always try their hardest to be more than their job description, right? So I know that the only things that can really mess up this year is either myself or the 2 people I don't know, Thanatos and Loki. And I looked at them play, and Thanatos, I played against him in the first game of the Split last summer when I was in Dignitas, and he was terrible, I think. I told him to do better, so no flame. And he improved over the year, I think. And I played with him in the boot camp, and I think he's solid. I think he'll continue to be one of the best players in the LCS, at worst, I think. So I'm very happy with it. Loki's got to learn a lot of English while he's practicing with the team. So he's in the hardest position, I think, of all of us, because like learning English while you're playing and practicing every day is hard.
Yeah.
So he's in a tough position, but he's a hardworking guy, good personality. So I have like faith in him. So I'm personally very confident in our team.
Nice. I'm looking forward to
I
it.
think having a Korean-speaking coach helps in this regard. Having Rupert for the team. Yeah, I think like having him to like, I don't like it when he does it, because it shouldn't be necessary, but sometimes he explains something in Korean after in English, right? And it just gets the whole thing done faster. Whereas when we were having, Berserker and MNS and then Mithi as our coach, it felt kind of like sometimes we spent so much time on one thing because things were lost in the sauce somewhere, So, yeah, I think we have a good setup to make it work. I kind of had this thing where like I didn't really want to play with Korean players because there's just too much issues with it sometimes, whether it's personality issues or it's a team bonding problem. You can't do things outside the game with them sometimes, or like English speaking issues. But I think with the way our managers bilingual as well, Korean speaking, and Reaper is there, it can work that way. And there's 2 of them, so I think it's okay. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it can work.
What is the percentage chance that you're the best team in the LCS?
50-50.
50-50?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you either are or not, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. There you go.
This man gets it. No, but I think that like, I think we're good. And I think we have talent, we have firepower, we have like good everything. So I'm not worried in that sense. But I also think that our opponents are good. I think FlyQuest is the main opponent this split for us. I think TL is good too, but when I look at TL, I feel like they're a team that might have reached their ceiling. That's like my outside perspective. I feel like TL were really far ahead of everyone else at some point this year. Oh, sorry, last year.
Last year.
And then it felt like they never really got higher. They just stayed here while FlyQuest slowly did this, the whole year. That's how I felt watching from the outside, at least, right? It felt like FlyQuest slowly improved over split, but TL just stayed the same. And then the things they were good at got worse, and then that was it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt, at least, watching them play. So.
Yeah. I think it's a good read. I imagine you agree.
I think TL just has a lot of experience. That's why they were really good from the get-go. But I just don't feel like they're that good mechanically. Like whenever you got to fights that were on even setting, like it just felt like you could outplay them pretty easily. But once they got the lead, then that's where they were the scariest, because I feel like Impact and Korjeja are very good at pushing the leads, because if they are freed in the game, then they will like do a lot for the team. But if they are not in the position to actually do something, I think no one will be able to do anything, and they are not scary at fighting because their players are like, as I said, I think their mid and AD are just not like super insane at team fighting. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just putting the teams aside for a second, I do feel like the changes to the game were kind of big, with feats of strength, Atakan being added.
Atakan, yes.
Not really?
Not so
I don't
much, I
think the
think.
feats matter that much. I think the reason they look so good statistically is because people don't actually know how to read statistics.
Yeah, because
I
if
just
you
think
have
it's
first turret and
fast,
first dragon, you're going to
so-
win anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like the team that gets first blood in solo queue probably has the better players the majority of the time. So of course they'd win. Like, look at Medjai's.
Yeah,
Like, why
it's like a
does it have an
75%
80% win rate? Like, it's not the best item in the game, but it's just like if you build Medjai's, you're in a spot where you're already going to win most of the time.
So what do you feel like is the most impactful change for pro play that happened?
Atakan. I think the GA Atakan is the most broken thing ever introduced to the game. Okay, that's an exaggeration. Keep in mind, I started playing ranked in Season 8. I'm kind of new. But it's like, it's really stupid that the team who takes like GA Atakan can just run into the enemy base and trade 5 people for 1. And if they just run straight back onto the map, they're up like infinite tempo and at full map control, and then the game's just cringe. Like, I don't think that should be a thing. I don't think that bad play should be rewarded.
There's 2 little drawbacks to the GA Atakan.
Exactly.
You can like just run to the base, die as your top laner, take a tower. You're playing Thunder, right? You're 4k HP, take the whole tower, kill one guy, die, T-back instantly. Full HP, full mana,
Yep.
everything. Or you can just suicide for like the Jinx flash in one team fight, and then he doesn't have flash for next dragon fight.
That's
Yeah.
actually a really big thing.
You're
Like,
always there first, too.
I'd say to my teammates, I'd be like, just int as long as we blow their flashes, they can't win.
Yeah.
They just won't be able to play the next
They're
team
nerfing
fight.
it soon.
I mean,
to
it's an extra 100
gold.
gold. That
At
doesn't
least-
So it's
matter.
more
at least the way
valuable
people
if you
are playing
die.
Scrims, they just like go full send,
Yeah.
like the AD carries flash, or like getting to 2 towers or something like that.
It makes sense.
This way you give him a 1k gold at least. It's like something. But I agree, it's a very unskilled Atakan version. It's like it's so easy to use.
Yes.
It doesn't require any like thought process, and just often you just like run it down and win. Feels
I've heard
unskilled.
like different things, like you either 5-mana turret or you just put like people in all 3 lanes and just try and kill.
play like a complete
You just try and kill
psychopath.
turrets.
Yep.
Who cares if they kill you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want because
Some
dying
teams,
doesn't matter.
when we were scrimming, they were trying to save Atakan if they were really far ahead, to like use it for Baron or for Soul if they had 2 dragons.
Interesting.
But then the counter argument was that if you're that far ahead, you can save it, you can just take it and end.
Right.
Just go tower dive.
Yeah.
So it's like, it just seems like too easy to just take it and win. Yeah, it's kind of like the new Baron in a way. But
Yeah.
like,
Aside from GA Atakan, what's the next most impactful change you think?
I think there is a lot of change. I think minions dealing more damage to each other is a big change. I think there is not being a cannon wave on wave 3 is also a big change. I think it's hard to make a dive on the swap because it's hard for people to be level 3 on the dives to level 1 on diving. I think the towers dealing way more damage is also a very weird and, in my opinion, unnecessary change. Like, I'm not really a big fan of that. I mean, I get it to make the swaps harder, but like right now the towers are doing crazy amount of damage.
Huge damage.
And it seems like if someone is under tower, it's like pretty much always 1-for-1 if you wanna dive. You can't really make clean dives anymore. Other than that, what are the big changes? I think the TP change, I don't like it because I feel like now you don't really have creativity to play on the map by making like TP flanks or peaks on the side lane. Like before, I remember when someone had a TP up, you couldn't really gank a side laner past 20 minutes because the other mid laner would just TP and turn around the fight. So if you had TP at disadvantage, you had to play pretty safe. But now you kind of can ignore the fact that enemies have TPs because if they start TPing, you can pretty much disengage the fight because the TP just takes way too long.
10 seconds later.
Yeah, the TP in the early game, you can TP on a ward, but like it takes 8 seconds, and the minions also deal more damage. So if you recall on a cannon wave, you might actually lose almost 3 millis and a cannon while TPing because enemy might cancel your recall once, and then the waves are doing so much damage to each other that in the time you TP, the minions are already dead. So now also the TP timers are a bit different. So I don't know. It seems like there are a lot of changes, but I'm just not sure if
it's like a lot of little changes.
Yes, I don't know if they're as impactful as I think, or they're just impactful right now because they are new and you just have to get used to them. So I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, for bot lane, the minion changes are big because a big part of the last year's meta was like playing Kalista, Varus with lethality builds, and like OP lane phase, Ashe as well.
Yeah.
And you would just walk past the wave level 1 and summon in team. But now experience is longer as well, and minions kill each other faster. So you can't stack like a monster 3 or stack under the tower and then bounce it and do it again, you know? Now you have to like just kind of like push 2 or 3 waves and just play. It's really hard to like punish bad level 1 lanes the way you did before.
Yeah,
like before you could just zone them off like at least 4 to 5 minutes of experience and be like really far ahead the whole lane. But now it feels like it's kind of hard to like stomp lane, even with the best lane like Cosmonada or like, you know, Nico, Varus type champs. It's hard to get a monster lead in lane, 2v2 or 1v1, I think. You just can't have that same thing anymore.
If that's the case, would you see less lane swapping? But then the lane swapping itself is easier because it's harder to dive?
Yeah.
Lane swapping is different, not necessarily harder, because like the top tower takes more damage too.
Yeah.
And the tower deals more damage, which is good for the team that initiates lane swap, because the tank that is defending his tower can get a 1-for-1 very often, right? Or he dies once, gives the feat of strength, which is a side note, which is a downside, right? But then he deals back and he's hard dive because the tower does so much damage to everyone already, right?
Yeah.
So it's still worth it to tank 300 gold, or plus assist gold, someone, for your AD carry being up in XP, and they TP top anyway, right? So no disadvantage there. It's still okay, I think, if you have a really bad matchup. But it is hard to punish the bad matchup. We still have like prio in lane, you still have push all the time. You can move to the dragon first, you can invade, you can do a lot of things. So it's not useless to have lane prio, but it's definitely like less important than this whole year when like better bot just wins on your lane swap, kind of.
Srtty, anything to add about, I mean, that or just the patch in general?
The TP thing is big because now in like volatile swap lane matchups, whoever bases first usually loses out because you're missing 3 minions or 4 minions of XP, and then the enemy hits 6 first on a slow pushing out wave, and you're just like, wait, what can I do? He's
Also
level 6.
guards.
Yeah.
Now you can base and get home guards, even if you're losing.
Right.
You
That
just
is
base
true.
and get home
Run
guards,
back.
so you're back to like faster, even if you're losing, right? Lose like maybe 3 as minions per base, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think on the note of lane swaps, it's like whatever. It's honestly not the end of the world, and like how the changes impact it. I think that if teams want to lane swap, they'll lane swap. I think that if they don't want to, they won't want to. And then in certain situations, like when you have like a Cassante versus a Gnar for a top lane example, lane swapping can be good for the Cassante side because Gnar is just like, I'm trying not to say what I want to say, but like just useless in the first few levels. Like
You can say it.
just a piece of shit champion.
Okay, never mind.
But yeah.
I need to learn Srtty.
Yeah. I'm Australian, so
Yeah.
I like this well. But yeah, I think that I think the changes do matter a lot, but like Inspired said, it's hard to tell if some of the changes matter as much as you think they do because people aren't used to them yet, or because they actually matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important note to make.
Yeah. For me, the biggest one is just Atakan is on the map at 20. The game, it feels weird to have an objective at that spawn point. Like being balling at 20 minutes and having to stay there because they can get the GA Atakan feels weird.
Yeah.
And also, the position of Atakan is very different than like Dragon and Baron. He's like in a very weird spot where like the tri-bushes on both sides in bot lane, for example, are like very important for contesting. And like some champions like Asir can block the whole lane with his tower, right? So like the champions are very different to play in those situations compared to like Baron with like a pit or the wall as well, right? So if you control the tri-bush in bot, for example, the M team has no entrance to the fight, right? And like flanking is different. There's like less points of attack, so to speak. So like fighting around those Atakan is a lot different than Baron and Dragon, which is for me the biggest change. And you can't go top, you know, when Atakan's up.
It's variable between top and bot. Also, it can overlap with the Drake too. So there's just two things right next to each other.
Like when
Actually, I never had
Atakan
situation yet where there was Akash on bot side and Drake spawning bot side as well. And they're like legit next to each other.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I've had it. It's crazy.
It's definitely the biggest change of the offseason is Atakan. I think that they're nerfing both because the flower Atakan is it's like a secret OP Atakan.
Yeah,
You will think it's useless, but the flowers is the real reward. They give so much experience, and you get like what, 15 AD or something
30
from all the small ones. So it adds up.
Just give them all to the AD carry.
No, they are team-wide.
Team-wide. Everybody gets
Yeah,
them.
so you just get them all. Like sometimes teams will like get Atakan, and then you see like people fighting over the flowers, not the actual like the boss, you know,
I mean,
or
because the
whatever.
actual flower Atakan, it's like the 25% epic monster bonus, which I think
useless.
applies to grubs as well.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. But like at the end of the
So
day, nobody
useless.
cares about it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
I mean, like, look, Infernal Lake gives you what, 3% AD?
Yeah.
So you get like what, 5 AD from it?
Yeah.
You get Flower Atakan, you get 5 AD, 4 AD, something like that. You know,
Right. The bonus compared to how much you're getting from the flowers.
because the
is
dragons
just
themselves
nothing.
are like very useless these days, right? They don't get much bonuses anymore. The
individually,
dragons
they don't matter
individually.
at all.
So unless you have Soul, but if you have Soul and Atakan, you win anyways.
Yes.
So it's like, and if you have 6 grubs, you get like what, 1 grub more into the damage.
But if you have 6 grubs, the enemy team can't trade anyways ever.
Exactly.
Because
So it
they have
doesn't
6
really
grubs.
change the game anyway. But the flowers give you a lot of experience and a lot of stats. So
It's just it's a win more.
it also does work on like small things like red buff, blue buff, I think. So it's like not useless, but
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Or we're just looking forward to the LTA starting with Split 1 on January 25th.
Yep.
FlyQuest SR, first match of the season.
Inspired. You made it. I appreciate you coming on Pros again. We're going to get you back again soon when you have a shorter day so we can really hear you speak your mind. Srtty, nice to meet you. Zven, nice to see you back on Cloud9.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it here from Pros. And we'll see you for the start of the LTA.